Hello, and welcome to day 4 of my sweet little confusion to clarity series. So today's day 4. We have been going over over the past few days and really looking at some different aspects of how we get stuck. Hey, Jeanette. How we get stuck in confusion, how we get stuck in a place of like, I don't know I don't know how to move forward, or I don't know what's next for me, and like, how do I get there, and what is there, right? So that's what we're here to do. And I'm Dana, in case you don't know me, Dana Balicki. I live out, I wish I could flip you around right now. You know what, hold on, we're gonna mess with this because I want you to see what is happening outside. I live in the desert, but we got snow. I've never seen snow here. So forgive me for that. Hold on. Get you back in your little spot. Yeah, crazy. So anyway, I'm a transformational coach. I live out here in Joshua Tree, and it's normally, it's sunny, but it's normally sandy. And today it's snowy, and I think that is perfect because today our topic is burnout. So of course it snowed. So what we've been doing over the past few days, and you can see depending on where you're watching this, because right now you're watching this on Instagram because we're live, but later when you're watching this, you might be seeing this in a couple other places. I'll post a link where you can go and watch all of the lives that we've done so far. They've all been about like 20 to 30 minutes or so, and we've gone over fear of change. We've gone over all the ways that we get stuck in confusion. Jeanette's sitting in the car with snow too. Yeah, everywhere. It's bananas and amazing. Hey, Callie. Hey, Martha. So we've gone over some really rich topics. I've given you homework, and so maybe some of you have been doing it, and I'd love to hear how it's going for you. And you can go back and watch it and start doing some of the homework. You can go over to thatclearlife.com. Hold on, some breakfast here. You can go to thatclearlife.com and get my Slow the F Down guided meditation and visualization. And that I have been referring that, as part of the homework for every day, because grounding your energy and learning to slow down is a huge part of how we get from confusion to clarity, right? It's not the only thing, but it is a key piece that is going to, once you learn how to do that and you start practicing slow down, it makes room for so much else. I know that some of my students are here. So like, if you want to chip in about how slowing down has been working for you, or, if it hasn't been working for you, like, feel free. But I know for some of you it's been working. So feel free to chip in your 2 cents on the Slow the F Down, on the grounding work. So let's dive into burnout today. And, I'll take questions and your comments or your little emojis, whatever. It's so beautiful. If you're watching this later, somewhere else, you can put your questions in the comments below or wherever you see the prompt. Or if if there's a prompt to like a little chat box or something, you can hit that and then you can get me. Okay. Oh, and when you go to thatclearlife.com and you get the Slow the F Down guide, you're also going to be added to my wait list for my course, Clear, which is opening up again tomorrow. When all the snow will be melted out here, I'm sure. Okay. Are you ready? So who here has ever, Tiffany says, yes, slowing down gives you a moment to see things as they truly are, right? In so many moments. And then you slow down consistently, and then you can see so many moments clearly for like how, see how things really are. And a new level of perspective on yourself and your life is available. So thank you for that, sweetie. So who here has suffered from burnout or felt like, I've been burnt out. I am burnt out. I was just burnt out. I don't even know what I am right now. I'm recovering from burnout. Anyone here having that experience of burnout, right? Like you either had it, you're feeling maybe you're in the middle of it, you feel like maybe you're approaching it. Anyone? I'm going to take some moment because of my desert internet here for things to sort of like catch up and populate. So I'm going to assume that a few folks here, I know that I have, right? So I had some pretty intense burnout. Like my first experience with it that I recognized it was in my late 20s. Oh, Jen says, no. Yes, I'm kidding. Okay, now they're coming. So I'm sorry that you went through that, and it's so normal, and our culture is a super burnout culture, and so most of us have been through it because we get taught that we have to move fast, fast, fast. We gotta like, the only way to succeed is like sacrifice, right? And I'll just say like, women generally get that a little bit more, I've noticed, than men, culturally programming about the sacrifice and the giving and the over giving, which can lead to burnout in many areas of life. And I don't just mean work, right? Like this is like our relationships, our, all areas. So there are a couple things when I think about burnout that have helped me over time, like understand like how it happens. And I'm not giving a whole lecture because I could probably write a whole book about it. Like there are many books, I'm sure, about burnout, right? So I'll just give a snippet here. Hey, Adina. Welcome. We're talking about burnout. So, and how to notice it, how to move through it, why it happens, and then like, how we find some grace, how we find some damn grace in it. So the first thing that I think about, and when I think about my own story, so it was my late 20s, and I was doing political organizing, and just like, even though I worked for a lot of women, I'm actually writing a piece about this for a zine or a journal that's going to come out soon, so I'll announce it when it does. But even though I was working for all women, and we were doing grassroots political organizing work and anti-war work, it was like I was not immune to, hi Ashley, I was not immune to, to the pressures of our culture. I was not immune to the pressures of patriarchy and the like ways in which we're taught that we have to perform in order to be effective and successful. And so there was a lot of, it was just high pressure. And then I was in my late 20s and I wanted to like make everyone happy and please everyone and do a good job. And so I just like pushed myself I burnt my adrenals way out. Like I just pushed myself way beyond. So how I got there was by not listening to myself, right? So like notice this. And if you have a journal and you want to take some notes and like just sort of think about some of this stuff later or over the next couple of days and see what really like resonates for you. Whether it's like, oh yeah, that is what I did, or oh, I think this is what I'm doing and I'm on my way to, what I call like Singe City. It's like, on your way to just being sizzled and burnt, crispied. So first was by not listening. So are you listening to yourself right now, right? Or do you notice when you were, if you're reflecting back on the time that you were that you did get burnt out, like, were you listening to yourself? My guess is probably not so much, right? And so, learning how to, really learning how to like listen to yourself and like interpret your body, interpret your emotions, it's like interpreting your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions, and understanding them, those behaviors, and like, oh, why do I do those things? What are these emotions telling me, right? These are things that I go way in depth in my course on, the one that's opening tomorrow, and that you can get on the wait list and get my grounding guide and visualization, which is part of your homework, over at thatclearlife.com, or the link in my bio, depending on where you're watching it. So we go deep into this, but I just want to start like laying some of this out. So when you're not listening to yourself, right, it's like, and we learn how to not listen to ourselves. We learn how to start, not trusting ourselves, like it's like our culture sort of teaches this. Hey, Doreen. So we don't know how, like, I didn't know what hunger felt like in my body. And I've never like knowingly like, had any sort of like disordered eating. but I was just like running like so fast and so hard and just like lots of coffee and like, oh, I'm not hungry till like 2 p.m. and like, just like, oh yeah, that's when I'm hungry, so that's what I'm gonna eat. And like I went to my naturopath. I started working with one years ago, probably like 9 years ago. And I was like, well, I'm sort of feeling like weird and empty and then drained and irritable. And I named all these things. And he was like, you're hungry. That's hunger. I was like, what? Like I didn't know, right? Like that's how far away I had gotten from my body. And as weird as that may sound, like that's probably not that strange for a lot of us, right? Where it's like we're just like, well, I got things to do, so I'm not listening to what my body is asking from me, right? Like I'm probably not drinking enough water, not like noticing when I'm thirsty or when I'm hungry, or when I need rest, when I need sleep, right? Because I think I got things to do, and the things that I got to do are more important than the ways I got to be. Okay, so we learn culturally to not listen to ourselves. We learn that our to-do lists are more important than our being, our being lists, right? If there's such a thing. And hey, Don. And so, we prioritize the external over our internal experience. And so then when we stop listening to ourselves, right, like that's we keep shutting off. We do it in a million different little ways all the time. Like, oh well, I'll go to, like I used to hold my pee a lot. I would be like, oh, I'm really busy. When I finish this email, I'll get up and pee. Did anyone else do that? Is that just me? Hey Kimmy. So I would just sort of like not listen to myself, and that was something that I had learned over time, right? Which was like when I, that like listening to myself, like when I needed rest, like that didn't always fit in with my schedule, right? Like, okay, well, I got work to do until this time, and then I gotta get up, and then I'm trying to have a life, and I'm trying to go out, and I'm trying to be in love, and I'm trying to do all these things, right? And so trying to like cram it all in and not like feeling into like, wait, what do I need right now? Like, what do I really need? Right? Because it was about like, well, what do these people need from me? And can I deliver? Right? Because so this is the second part. So how we get to burnout, one big way is that we stop listening to ourselves. And maybe we never had a really great relationship with that. And that's true for many of us. And then the second is that we keep telling ourselves the same stories over and over and over. And these are stories that don't serve us, right? So part of a story that I had was that like, well, if I deliver, if I show up, if I like get things done, like that makes me more valuable, right? Like that makes me like, then I'm doing something good, right? So like good was only the way that I could serve people like externally, right? Like outside of me and make them happy. And so if they were happy with me, then the idea I think was that I would be happy with me. And like, yeah, I would get little hits of like dopamine hits of like, oh, yeah, oh my God, I did a good job. Or, oh yeah, I got that thing done. And, it was like such a tight window. And, I became really like known for being able to like do things really quickly and do them well. And so of course, I just kept attracting more and more and more of that. And people just wanted me for like quick turnovers of like big intense projects and to like do it really well in a really short time frame, and most of them wanted to underpay me. And so that was what I had for years, because that was how I thought I was useful, right? That was how I thought I was worthy, was like, how could I, could I serve other people? Right? And so I still believe in service, but I don't believe in service in a sacrificial way. So I'm not sacrificing my life and my well-being and my happiness, my health, none of it just in service, right? Because it's like, there's this great, if you know the teacher, Ayanna Van Zant, she's like the coach on like Love and Hip Hop and all these different, she's on Oprah all the time, or on the Oprah channel or whatever. She's great. And she had this beautiful quote that was like, what is in my cup is for me. And like what runneth over, what floweth over is for you. And I didn't get that until my 30s, right? After I did some like really deep inner work over many years, a lot of which I'm teaching in my course, and a lot of just what I teach in general, which is like how to understand how I'm not listening to myself, and how to understand the stories I've been telling about myself and the world around me, and myself and the world around me. and noticing like what stories are actually contributing to burnout. And we have a lot of cultural stories and myths that contribute to burnout. And so if you experience burnout, you probably got caught in one of them, right? And you've embodied it and internalized that story. And chances are there's something around your worth or your value, or how you have to show up. And you let that drive you into the ground, right? And so what we think is that like, well, what if I do enough of these things, then I'll be happy, right? But this is about like sort of a bigger picture here, which is what some of my teachers, David and Gail, I don't have their book around, David Gershon and Gail Straub, talk about as the shift from pathology to vision, right? And so it's this cultural pathology we have to like fix things, to problem solve, to troubleshoot, and then we and so then everything looks like that. Does anyone feel me on that? Anyone feel like they're really good at troubleshooting and all they're doing constantly is just like trying to solve problems and put out fires? Anyone? That was me, and I hear that a lot from people, right? And so especially folks who have experienced like some level of burnout, which is most of us, or at least certainly the people that I attract. And so that idea of like the cultural pathology that like everything's a problem that needs to be fixed, right? It's that adage of like, when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And so we're just trying to fix. And we think that like one day if we fix enough problems, then everything's going to be amazing, right? Like one day I'll just hit my threshold and it'll be that 100th monkey and all of a sudden everything will be good. Yeah, Kimmy says all the time. Tiffany's giving thumbs up. Right. So it doesn't work that way, right? Like it doesn't work where you orient around problems and trouble and suffering and issues and difficulties that you have to overcome, right? And then to all of a sudden one day it's gonna just be better, right? Those are just gonna go away. No, there will always be more around the corner because you're orienting towards looking at problems, looking for problems to solve, right? And so anyway, that's like, like that's the big story that we tell, like my lean back chair here. That's the big story that we're telling culturally, right? Is that everything's a problem to be fixed. You're a problem to be fixed. I'm a problem to be fixed. My relationship's a problem to be fixed. My body's a problem. Gotta fix that. My work, I don't know, gotta fix that, right? Like my money, whoa, really gotta fix that, right? Whatever it is. And so all we're doing is orienting towards more problems. So that's our big story. And that is definitely one that drives us like herds of animal towards burnout, right? And so those are the ways that we get there. And I know that there's more, but these are some of the big ways I think about as we stop listening to ourselves, right? And we're not able to interpret our own emotions, which are like all emotions are valuable. They're not negative. They're super or positive, right? They're just informative, right? And if we learn how to read them, which is part of what I teach, then you can really understand what your emotions are telling you instead of like trying to get away from the difficult ones. You're like, oh wait, what is this difficult emotion showing me? Something really important about my life right now that I need to pay attention to. Otherwise I might go down a path that like I actually don't want to go down. And then we learn how to like work with our bodies and slow down and work with energy, right? So that's that first one of like not listening to ourselves. The second one is we keep telling stories about ourselves and about the world, and they don't serve us, and so we stay in that rhythm. And then that big picture of like staying in that pathologizing of everything's a problem, I gotta fix it, right? And that's when like our worth gets all tied up in that, right? So that's like the how we get there. And I want you to just like think about some of that. And maybe you're like, okay, Dana, I know how I got there. Like how do I get out? Or what do I do? So we're going to go there right now. But I do think it's important, like make some time today. You can go to thatclearlife.com or the link in my bio, wherever you're watching this, and get my grounding, slowly up down grounding meditation. Because that's going to like, the slower you go, and I really believe that this is the slow medicine is like this divine feminine medicine, and this like, the like go crazy fast problem solving is like, is not even divine masculine. You know, it's not even the balance of divine masculine and feminine. That's like a totally like stretched out, like, you know, what's the word? Blown out version of the masculine, right? It's like totally twisted and toxified. And that's what we're living in, all of us. And so the slow down medicine to like is of the divine feminine. It's about like how to find your value, right? How to find what's valuable to you. So that's why that slow down medicine is so sweet and so important, because we have to slow down, because you cannot find what's important to you and design your life around it going a million miles an hour. And you were trying to do that, and that's how you burnt out, right? Get it. I want you to get that. So that's, you know, so one of the other things I guess that I want to say too is that when we're burnt out, and this was a really important distinction for me to notice a long time ago, when we're burnt out, we're like desperate, right? We're like looking for anything different. We just want a change. We just want something different. And we don't even really, because we're burnt out, we're triggered. We're like, you know, we're not listening to ourselves. We're sort of messy. And we want to find something different. We want to find something that feels different. And so, things will come along and they'll feel different, and we'll be like, yeah, that, I'll take that. I'll go for that. Yeah, sign me up. And the thing is that, like, you know, it might be someone else like bringing in another project, and you're like, oh, that feels different than what I've been doing, so let me do that, right? Or like some other person, proposal, relationship comes along, you're like, well, that's different than what I had before, and that I can tell sucks, so I'm going to go over here. And when we're in that place and we go from being like, oh my God, I'm burnt out, I get it, I feel it, I just want something else, right? What we're doing in that moment is disempowering ourselves. We're choosing not to really choose ourselves, right? We're like choosing whatever else comes along. And that is, that's recipe for more burnout, right? Like, sure, for a while you're gonna feel different. Oh, I just realized I was laughing. You know, you're gonna feel different. You're gonna like, oh yeah, okay, great. But then chances are you're gonna find your way back to that same burnout place again, right? So, and the reason I say right, like, you know, but maybe you don't. So you're gonna find yourself back to that burnout place again, because you're not listening to yourself. You're not dealing with your stories. And you're not shifting perhaps that paradigm of pathologizing. Okay? Anyone feel me here? Oh yeah, Dawn says, So what's important to do, right? When you're in this desperate, like looking for something else, is to notice that you're there, right? Awareness, super important part of transformation, to name it. Be like, I'm burnt out. I am officially burnt out. I am crispy, or I am damn sure on my way. And to name it. And to have some tenderness and forgiveness for yourself. And when you can have some tenderness and forgiveness for yourself, Atina says yes. You know, it's like, that's actually, you're slowing down, first of all. You're slowing down to be like, wait, oh, I see what's happening here. Yeah, Roa says, been there. Yeah. The end says, I've moved from burnout to fried. Yeah, okay, good. So, I mean, not good, but, you know, but the idea here is that you can see it. Okay. So, Adina says, me too, Kimmy. Yeah, right? So we feel this. So even when you're in the fried place, like, what's so important is to, and I know this is different for everyone, so I'm not, you know, it's like, I'm giving sort of a broad framework here, and notice how it resonates with you. Hi, Marianne. That's my cousin. So when you burn out, you're desperate looking for some change. You're like, you've taken on a bunch of other things and it hasn't helped the burnout, right? You're like, oh, well, that's different. Oh, that feels new, right? So you've got to slow down. You've got to find some tenderness with yourself, right? Some like acceptance that like, oh my God, I'm here. I'm burnt out. I'm fried. I cannot go, you know, like I cannot go on this way, right? And I forgive myself, and this might take a little while, right? You might just have to like look in the mirror and start talking to yourself and saying like, I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you, over and over and over again until you feel it, right? Maybe it won't take too long, but forgive yourself for getting here. Forgive yourself for not listening to yourself. Forgive yourself for all the stories you've been telling, even if you can't even articulate what all those stories are. Hi, Angel. So if you can forgive yourself for getting to the place of burnout, for getting to the place of not listening to yourself and all the stories and all of it, right? It's a practice. Forgiveness does not just happen once. It is a practice to return to over and over again, okay? And we have to slow down. I mean, I know you guys are like, Dana, more slowing down. Yes, more slowing down. More slowing down. Okay? Like every time I think I'm like, I have mastered the art of slowing down, like I get a new reminder about how I need to go slower, right? Because we are in a world, a teacher of mine, Raw Goddess, says like, you can't swim in the pond and not get wet. We are all swimming in the pond and rushing through our lives. And when we're in this pond, we're getting wet with it. Like there's no way out. The way out is to notice you're in the pond and to notice that you are wet and to notice that like you have told yourself so many stories about your own worth and your own value and why you've driven yourself to this place, right? Like why have you driven yourself to this place? And I'm not saying that there aren't other people in your life that are asking a lot of you, right? But you have power, and maybe you forgot, right? Maybe you forgot that you have power. Maybe you never actually realized you have it, right? Agency is real, and there are a lot of people in this world who also get a lot of systemic, oppression, or part of systemically oppressive systems, which we do exist in as white people or as a white woman. I do not experience it nearly as much as Black, Indigenous people of color, women of color, right? So that's real, and we embody these stories, we embody the oppression, right? And we tell ourselves these stories that like we don't have enough value just being who we are and living the life that we want, and that we have to show up in a certain way for everyone else. And we go and we go and we go until we don't have anything left. And then we have to pick up our pieces. And then we're still expected to go while picking up our pieces. Is this resonating with anyone? Is anyone here like picking up their pieces right now, but feeling like they can't stop? Well, you can stop, right? But you have to like acknowledge that you haven't stopped. And you got to look at like, why haven't you stopped? What's the story you're telling yourself? And I know I keep saying like, go do my grounding meditation, but I mean it, because that's that divine feminine slow down, right? Kimmy says, I was about to get in my car and drive away till I hit an ocean or forest to hide. Thanks for the slow down advice. I fell off a curb in front of the coffee shop last week. God, trying to force slow down. Pumpkin, yeah. Right? So, I mean, if you do need to like go somewhere and go and do some hiding, like go do some hiding for a little bit, right? Like sometimes we just need to take ourselves out and like pause and create a big pause here. And can you feel free to reach out, because I'm here for you, baby. But that slowing down is key, because it's probably antithetical to like how you've been operating, right? You've been operating in the like fast pace, got to do it, got to make it happen. I got to sacrifice myself, whether you notice that was happening or not, right? That story about sacrifice or martyrdom. So we got to notice our stories. We got to slow down. We got to forgive ourselves for getting here. And we got to start telling different stories, right? So this is what I teach in my course, but I want you to even just try on today, like, noticing your homework, right, is noticing like what are the stories you've been telling yourself that have led you here to this burnout, right, about your value and your worth and what you must do and how much you must hold, like how you have to be the one who holds everyone together. Why you? Maybe you're like, well, no one else will do it. Well, is it working for you to hold everything together to be the one? How much longer can you do it? Do you have another month in you? Do you have another year? Do you have another 5 years? It's important to know. It's important to understand where you're at, and important to understand how much you have left. And then if you're like, I got a couple more years of this in me, well then what is your life going to look like in a couple of years of moving this way, continuing to move this way? Is it a life you would want for yourself? Is it a life you would want if you have children, for your family? Right? Is it a life you would be like, oh yeah, like I would wish that on someone else? Like if you're like, no, I wouldn't, then think about it. Why you? Why do you get to be that one? Right? So anyway, I went a little bit broader than I thought I would today because I wanted to, sort of just focus on those pieces. But just to recap here, how we get to burnout is we stop listening to ourselves and we tell a lot of old stories. We're stuck in these old patterns, tell these old stories about our value and our worth and how we need to show up and what makes us worthy of love, et cetera, et cetera. What success is and how we're going to get it. And then we're like, sort of third piece was like sort of this bigger concept of, we're stuck in the pathology, the pathologizing of our culture, which is everything's a problem. And that's, it's like you have the opportunity to swim upstream. You really do. Or to just let the oars go, right? And be carried by the water. But the paddling up is like not working. It doesn't work for any of us, even if we're like really strong and we're like, oh, I can keep doing it. Like we all are your coping mechanisms, you're going to hit a wall because your coping mechanisms at some point are going to stop working. And that's because your psyche is trying to tell you that it's time to stop, right? Your soul is giving you a message. But when we don't know how to really listen to the messages, because remember we're not listening to ourselves, or we've sort of forgotten how to listen to ourselves, then those messages can sort of fall. It's like we can miss them, right? And so you have this opportunity here to slow down, to forgive yourself for getting here, to tune into the stories that you've been telling about yourself and your worth. All these years, forgive yourself again for that, right? Remember I said, look in the mirror, do some like, I forgive you to yourself. And notice if you're in that sort of liminal space of like, I'm burnt out and I'm just looking for a million other things, because that's someone else giving you your vision. That's not you cultivating your vision. So everything I'm talking about is in support of you cultivating your vision, right? In support of you getting clear, in support of your own clarity, so that you can be like, you know what? Here's what I want. I know this person has this idea for me, and that looks like a cool thing, but like, is it really aligned? Well, when you're burnout, you don't know what's aligned. You're not prepared to know what's aligned, deeply aligned for you and your soul. You've got to get into that place of like, wait, what is of value? And the only way to get there is to go slower and to listen, right? And I don't just mean go slower as in like, mindful, like sipping of water, like that does help. It's not the only thing though, right? So that's why I suggest my grounding meditation, because that's energy work that you can do on a daily basis, many times a day. Ashley says, I think it's important to remember the body is the last messenger. So if you feel it in your body, your psyche has probably been trying for a while, 100%, right? So, when we stop listening to ourselves and like, our emotions, which are, like our guidance system, like our internal GPS, those have been, and that can like, we push down difficult emotions and we sort of, they can sort of become like a ratty bundle that I always experience as like anxiety, where it's like a bunch of emotions that I haven't been giving any airtime to, sort of all coming up at the same time, and I'm like, and I just want it to go away, right? So like that's probably been happening for a while, and you've been getting those messages, and yes, when they come to your body, it's like, they're really trying to get out, right? It's really trying to show you. So like my husband, for example, he's a painter, and, he's had a way of like working and doing his work, and he's been, it's like he's been progressing and like really making more space, but he's also been in sort of this like burnout, he's in this burnout rhythm. And literally his hand now is like telling him, his painting hand is like, he's starting to get like tendonitis or whatever, something happening in there. And his arm is telling him like, hey, you slow down, stop. You gotta zoom out here. You gotta pause, right? So it's like your body will tell you, your emotions will tell you. And if you can learn how to reconnect with them, which you can, not if you can, when you make the choice to learn how to reconnect with them, there's so much here for you. There's so much information for you. All your emotions, your body, there's ways to work with your mind and your mindset and your thoughts, and to really change your beliefs, right? And that's what I teach. That's what I go deeper into in my coursework. My Clear course, it opens tomorrow. So if you're not, I'll post it up here on Instagram. But if you're not, already getting my emails, you're going to get a few this week, just because I'm opening the doors this week. I'll talk more about it tomorrow. I'm going to do a live at 11 a.m. Pacific tomorrow. And I'll post the link up here because I'm not going to be doing it here. You just got to hop on over to this other page. But anyway, and that's the page where you can see all of the replays of this too, of the past 4 days. So tomorrow will be day 5. And, I'll just show you some of the other ways in which to go deeper into this work. So even if you are burnt out, and you might feel like, oh, I'm burnt out, and so I'm not sure this is the best time. We'll talk about timing. I have lots of folks who join this work that are sort of in a burnout place, and it's actually beautiful because we spend the whole first month in this like slowing down and really teaching you how to reconnect with your own inner guidance and your own intuition, and to listen to yourself again so that you can hear what's most important to you, so that you can get in touch with the values, right? The values, that divine feminine, what is of value, right? That's the question. And that's the question we have to pose to ourselves. That's the question culturally, I think, that we need. What is really of value, instead of just what's possible? What can we do? So that's the lesson today on burnout. I know we could just like talk forever about it because all of us really sort of dance with it and have danced with it. So just like, I'm sending you blessings on your path with this. If you're feeling in the midst of burnout or crispy fried, right? Just like some forgiveness for yourself. And it's gonna, I know what it's like to feel like, oh my God, like how do I get out of this? But you can, right? And, if you want to tune in tomorrow at 11 a.m., that's when at Pacific time, I'll be talking some more about my course. So if you're like, I need guidance, I need accountability, well, we can chat about that totally. And you can also go and just start with that little grounding meditation, and it can change the way you are with yourself, right? So it's a first step. It's a really beautiful, bold first step, right? So you can go to the link in my bio, go to thatclearlife.com and get that Slow the F Down guide and really reflect on how you got here, okay, baby? Because that's the most important thing. Like, how did I get here? Can I forgive myself? Can I notice that I'm trying to externally, change things externally? And can I just come home to myself? Can I slow down, right? Can I know that like what I'm feeling is the most valuable thing? Like, what if you were number one, right? What if every choice you made was like based on what was best for you, not all the other people and all the other things needing from you, right? I'm not talking about discarding any of that, but just like, what if you could fill your cup up? What if you knew how to fill your cup up? And then there was extra, and you knew there was extra, and that was what you shared with everyone else. What would your life be like? I want you to think about that, right? Between now and tomorrow. And so, if there's any other questions, I'll stay here for a sec. Otherwise, you can always DM me or put questions somewhere, wherever you're watching this. Just ask questions. You can tag me. And I'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. If you're interested, I'll post the link here. And, you can go over and start some grounding, see how that feels. Just come back home to your body. Come back home to the planet, right? Mother Earth, like she's the one that's got that divine slow down medicine, right? She goes real slow. Okay. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm here for you. Reach out if you have any questions, and I will see you soon. Bye.